The impoverished student I once sponsored was the woman my husband considered his goddess. After my family went bankrupt, she returned to the country overnight. She even lined up to buy my favorite mango mille crepe cake. She acted spoiled and said, "Caro, can you feed me a bite?" But when my husband came home, she suddenly collapsed on the floor, claiming she had a mango allergy. Caro is just upset. After all, I owe her so much. Don't blame her. I was stunned. My husband left me behind and carried her to the hospital. He even gave her a card with $5 million as compensation. I stared at her in disbelief and questioned her. "Why are you treating me like this?" She shoved the card back into my hand. "Caro, if I didn't treat you this way, with your IQ, how long would it take you to get money from your husband?" Chapter 01. I looked at the card in my hand, then at Nina's tear-streaked face. "Huh?" She glanced at me. "What am I supposed to do with you? He's so rich, and you don't even know how to get some money out of him?" I choked for a moment and said aggrievedly, "How am I supposed to do that? I don't know how." Nina looked at me like she was disappointed in me and poked my forehead. "What do you even know how to do? You don't even know how to pick a man. If you had married his brother back then, would you still be short of money?" I couldn't follow her logic and instinctively shook my head. "What are you talking about? His brother hates me so much. Why would I marry him?" Nina rolled her eyes and suddenly looked behind me. Then she pulled a cigarette out of her bag and lit it, holding it between her lips. She blew smoke right into my face. She even reached out and patted my cheek. "You wanted to fight me for Luciano? Serves you right that your family went bankrupt. Now you can't even afford your mother's medicine." I froze. "What?" Suddenly, footsteps came from behind me. Someone grabbed my wrist tightly and pulled me to his side. "Nina, if it weren't for Caro sponsoring you, you wouldn't have even finished high school. What are you doing now? Repaying kindness with betrayal?" I looked up. The person who spoke was Paul, Luciano's older brother. Nina showed an awkward expression, like she had been caught red-handed. But only 2 seconds later, she looked out the window and sneered. "Did I force her to sponsor me? She was the one who insisted on playing the saint. How is that my fault?" "You feel sorry for her? Don't forget she has a husband, but her husband is too busy caring about me." "Sorry about that." Paul had always been a person who kept his emotions hidden. This was the first time I had ever seen him this angry. I even felt like he was about to hit Nina. I quickly stepped in and stopped Paul. "Forget it. Forget it." It took me a lot of effort to pull Paul out of the hospital room. I didn't know what to say and could only look at him awkwardly. He was looking at me too. That strange gaze made me feel uncomfortable all over. After staring at me for a while, he looked away and took out a card, handing it to me. "The password is your birthday." I was confused. But, no, wait. That. Paul stuffed the card into my pocket. "When someone wrongs you, you need to tell someone. If you keep quiet, are you really expecting that idiot Luciano to figure it out himself?" Then he glanced coldly at Nina inside the hospital room and turned away. After he left, I returned to the room and showed Nina the card Paul had given me. Nina rolled her eyes. This poser has the nerve to call his own brother an idiot. I felt like my brain was overloaded. I asked Nina, "Are you a good person or a bad person?" Nina choked on her cigarette and looked at me speechlessly. "What kind of nonsense are you mumbling? Come on, I'm driving you home." Chapter 02. I sat in the passenger seat, secretly glancing at Nina's face from time to time. She seemed almost the same as she had always been. Back in high school, Nina was quite well known, but she wasn't famous because she had excellent grades or ranked first every exam. She was famous because she was poor. Her classmates wore shoes that cost thousands, while hers had been repaired several times and she still kept wearing them. She didn't dress well, and she didn't eat well either. When others went to restaurants for lunch, she would sit in the classroom, reading while chewing on steamed buns. I felt sorry for her, so I bought 2 portions of food every day and ate with her. I handed her the food, and she would glance at me and say, "Thank you." Then she would carry my bag, explain questions to me, and help me with classroom duties. But she was never overly flattering. She always carried herself with quiet dignity. I felt like she didn't really like me. Maybe she only did those things because she wanted to repay my kindness. I secretly told Luciano about my thoughts. Luciano glanced at me indifferently and said, "Just because you're kind to someone doesn't mean they're obligated to like you." I thought Luciano was right, because I was pretty good to Luciano too, but he didn't seem to like me very much either. Still, I decided to continue helping Nina. Her grades were so good. It would have been such a shame if she had to stop studying. I paid her tuition and living expenses, took her to buy her first properly fitting set of underwear, and even bought her first birthday cake. She said thank you, then carried my bag, explained questions to me, and helped me with classroom duties. She also ran errands to buy me snacks, held an umbrella for me on rainy days, and walked me to my car. I didn't think we counted as friends. She barely talked, and we hardly ever chatted, until one day, she overheard someone badmouthing me in the bathroom and actually slapped that person several times right there. I was terrified. I asked her what she was doing. She looked at me and said, "I hate hearing people insult you." Only then did I realize belatedly that maybe she actually considered me a friend. I froze. She insulted me? What did she say? Why did you get so angry? Nina frowned. Why are you asking about that? Go do your homework. I didn't dare provoke her. I was afraid she would hit me, so I could only lower my head and obediently go back to doing my exercises. Later, I found out that the girl had said I was shameless, constantly throwing myself at Luciano. She even said that even if I stripped naked and climbed into Luciano's bed, he still wouldn't want me. I was incredibly embarrassed. So my crush on Luciano had been that obvious all along, but those words were way too cruel. I hadn't even dared to touch Luciano's hand. How could I possibly dare to climb into his bed? After finding out, the more I thought about it, the angrier I became, unable to do anything. I ended up crying with my head buried on my desk. Nina asked me what was wrong. After learning what happened, she went and beat that girl up again. This time, things got serious. The girl's family insisted that Nina be expelled. She didn't care at all. Who cares? I've studied enough anyway. Of course, I couldn't just leave her alone. I went home and begged my parents for help. But before my parents even had a chance to do anything, Luciano had already found a way to settle everything. Afterward, Luciano said to her, "You have such good grades. You should focus on your studies from now on. If you need any help, you can come to me." His attitude was genuinely kind, and his voice was incredibly gentle. Anyway, he had never spoken to me in that tone before. I felt a little disappointed. Chapter 03. Luciano and I could be considered childhood sweethearts. When we were little, my parents took me to visit his family. Seeing that the two of us were the same age, the adults asked him to take me around and play. They even told me that if I ever needed anything, I could go to Luciano for help. My emotional intelligence had never been very high since I was young. I couldn't tell that it was just something adults said out of politeness, and I couldn't understand the coldness on Luciano's face. The next day, I ran over to find him. "Could you help me line up and buy some bread?" Luciano was stunned for a moment. He didn't say anything, but he still went to queue. After helping me buy bread for 4 days in a row, he finally couldn't take it anymore. "Carolina, if the bread is sold out, just go earlier tomorrow. I'm busy. I don't have that much time." I felt a little hurt. I held back my tears, apologized, and turned around to leave. Luciano was speechless, but that day, I still got to eat the bread I liked, because Luciano brought it over himself. I thought about it all night and guessed that he was afraid the adults would scold him, so he brought me the bread just to keep me quiet. After that, I tried my best to be independent and never went to him for help again. But only a few days later, he saw a boy stuffing a love letter into my hands. He suddenly walked over, took the love letter from me, and threw it into the trash can. He even fiercely told that boy to stay away from me. I didn't understand what he wanted. After that, whenever I bothered him over some tiny little thing, he would complain about me first, but then turn around and help me take care of it. He often called me stupid, but whenever someone else called me stupid, he would get upset. I think that was probably when I started falling in love with him. The first and only time I ever confessed my feelings to him was during my first year of high school. When he was helping me with homework, he was writing on my test paper with a red pen, his brows tightly furrowed, His side profile looked incredibly handsome. I couldn't hold it back anymore. I suddenly said, "I like you." He looked like he was about to explode from anger. "How do you still have time to think about these useless things? Hurry up and look at the key points and correct your mistakes." I felt so embarrassed that I wiped away my tears while correcting my paper. Before we separated, he suddenly pinched my cheek hard. He looked like he wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he said nothing and just left. I felt that he was helpless too. He probably didn't want to be bothered by me for so many years, and then somehow end up being liked by me for no reason. Thankfully, I met Nina. Nina didn't seem to dislike me that much. She helped me with those trivial little things and never complained. I thought she was the best girl in the world, so I was always telling Luciano how great Nina was. I don't know if it was because I talked about her so much, but Luciano gradually started paying more attention to Nina. Chapter 04. When we ate together, Nina would help me get utensils and hand me tissues. Luciano frowned. "Don't spoil her bad habits. Let her do it herself. She's already this old. Why does she still need someone else to handle such small things for her?" When Nina lined up to buy the bread I liked, he said, "Don't bother lining up. It's just bread. It's not like anything will happen if you don't get it." When I was in a bad mood, Nina would ride her bicycle and take me around the park again and again. He would say, "Carolina, don't be so selfish. Can't you see Nina is tired?" Even someone as slow as me could feel it. The way he treated me and the way he treated Nina were different. Yes, very different. Before Nina's 18th birthday, I was busy studying while racking my brain trying to think of 18 gifts I could prepare for her. Luciano didn't understand. "Why make it so complicated?" I answered him seriously, "Because I want her to feel that her youth had beautiful moments too. Otherwise, when she grows up and looks back, she won't have anything worth remembering. Wouldn't that be sad?" "Luciano, I have to study and think about gifts at the same time. I'm so tired," he said coldly. "You didn't study before, and now you're panicking. Whose fault is that?" After a pause, he added, "Then help me think of something to give her too. I don't know what girls like." I froze for a moment, then nodded. "Oh, okay." Then I couldn't help asking Luciano, "What do you think of Nina?" Luciano glanced at me. "She's great. You should learn more from her and pick up some of her good qualities." Aw, I also thought she was great. Really, really great. But why did hearing that answer make my heart hurt so much? Chapter 05. I didn't dare tell anyone about this sadness, especially not Nina. I liked her so much. I was afraid she would hate me. Besides, I didn't want to affect her studies. She was so smart. She would definitely achieve great results. Just as expected, Nina performed exceptionally well and became the top scorer in our city for our graduating class. She also did very well in college and received many scholarships. She kept enough money for her living expenses and transferred the rest to me. By then, Nina and I were already not in contact very often. She was truly busy. Most of the time, I would send her a long string of messages, and she wouldn't reply until the middle of the night. Then, halfway through replying, she would disappear again. The next day, she would explain, "I was so tired yesterday that I fell asleep. I wasn't ignoring you on purpose." I transferred money to her a few more times, but she told me she didn't need money anymore and even sent me a screenshot of her account balance. Only then did I confirm that she was really doing well and no longer needed my help. I was actually quite happy for her. I still often sent her messages and mailed her gifts. Later, she went abroad for work, and we had a time difference. I thought we would slowly drift apart. I never expected that after my family went bankrupt, she would rush back from overseas so quickly. Lost in my thoughts, I didn't notice that Nina had already driven into the underground parking lot. Earlier at the hospital, Luciano had been called away to the company by his assistant, so he still hadn't returned home. Nina helped me change the bedding and organize my closet. Then she went into the kitchen and cooked my favorite dishes, tomato braised beef and squirrel-shaped mandarin fish. The rash from her mango allergy still hadn't disappeared. I stopped her. "Don't cook anymore." She ignored me. I had no choice but to shut my mouth. Although I knew she wouldn't hit me, I had seen how she fought before. I really didn't dare provoke her. Nina took some time out of her busy schedule to cut a plate of watermelon and told me to go eat it somewhere else. There was nothing I could do to help, so I moved a chair to the kitchen doorway. I watched her cook while eating watermelon. While eating, a piece of watermelon accidentally fell onto my slipper. I was just about to get up to grab a tissue when she crouched down and helped me clean it up. That was exactly the scene Luciano saw when he came home. Nina was wearing an apron, red rashes visible on her neck and the back of her hands. She was half kneeling, holding my ankle and wiping my slipper with a tissue. Luciano's expression instantly turned cold. "Carolina, are you doing this on purpose?" He strode over. "Nina is still sick. How could you let her serve you?" I hurriedly explained. "No, it's not like that. Nina pulled me behind her and sighed. "Don't blame her. I was the one who insisted on doing it." I nodded quickly. Yes. Luciano glanced at me, then softened his voice as he spoke to Nina. "Go rest. I'll cook." Luciano closed the kitchen door behind him, his face expressionless. "It's true that Nina owed you, but you've treated her like a servant for so many years. Isn't the debt already repaid?" "I thought you were just a little stupid. I didn't realize you were this selfish. Now I even suspect that sleeping with me back then was something you did on purpose." Chapter 06. I never expected him to say something like that. I froze on the spot. A year ago, I went to Luciano's birthday party. Everyone there was a friend we had known for many years. Everyone had drunk a lot, and I was forced to drink quite a few glasses as well. When I opened my eyes the next morning, I found Luciano lying beside me. Although we were both still wearing clothes, they were messy and disheveled. There were even marks on my neck that he had kissed. He was holding me tightly in his arms, so tightly that I could barely breathe. The news spread through our social circle very quickly. My parents were furious and asked me what I was thinking. After all, so many years had passed. Everyone knew Luciano didn't like me. Even I had already decided to let him go and start a new life. With red eyes, I said, "We just accidentally ended up sleeping together because we were drunk. Nothing happened." But after hearing that, Luciano immediately drove to my house. He said he wanted to marry me. I knew he was doing it out of a sense of responsibility. He didn't want me to be left in such an embarrassing situation. But I still couldn't help wondering, did he perhaps like me a little too? Who would sacrifice the rest of their life just to take responsibility? But after we got married, we never slept in the same bed. His attitude toward me remained the same. He had no patience with me and always called me stupid. Thinking about all of this, all the grievances I had buried inside suddenly came rushing out. But I didn't want to cry in front of him. When a smart person cries, it's pitiful and heartbreaking. When an idiot cries, it's just a pig snorting bubbles. I pretended to be cold and said, "Oh, think whatever you want." After saying that, I turned around to leave. Luciano grabbed me and pulled me back. "Carolina, don't you have anything to explain?" I glared at him unwillingly, but my vision gradually became blurry. Damn it, I'm so mad. My pig snout is blowing bubbles again. Why am I so hopeless? Why are you crying? Luciano said stiffly. Crying won't solve anything. I choked back my tears and said, "Are you even human? You won't even let me cry? You were the one who suggested marriage back then. Did I ever force you to marry me?" After saying that, the more I thought about it, the more wronged I felt. I couldn't hold it back anymore and burst into tears. The kitchen door opened. Nina and Paul walked in one after another. Nina immediately pulled me to her side. Paul, on the other hand, didn't say a word. He walked up and slapped Luciano hard across the face. Luciano looked at his older brother in shock. "Oh my God, stop fighting." Nina patted my shoulder. "Caro, let's go." Chapter 07. Nina took me back to the bedroom. I sat on the bed, crying harder and harder. Nina patiently wiped away my tears with tissues. After crying for a long time, I finally stopped and looked at her with a deep sense of grievance. "I really regret marrying him," I sniffled. "What should I do?" Nina patted my head. "I can drive into him and kill him," I immediately said. "Maybe don't go that far?" Heh. Nina gave a meaningful smile. "Just kidding." She gently wiped my face with a tissue and said, Being married doesn't mean you can't get divorced. There are plenty of men out there. I think his brother is pretty good, I said awkwardly. Don't say things like that. I already told you. His brother hates me, Nina said. What kind of hate are we talking about? The kind where he looks at you with a weird obsession every time? You call that hate? Just then, the bedroom door was pushed open. Paul walked in. He looked at me, who was still crying messily, and Nina, who was calmly sitting beside me. His brows instantly furrowed. Leave. I have something to discuss with Caro. Nina raised her eyebrows. What is there to discuss? I've already told her everything I needed to say. Paul's frown deepened. What did you tell her? Nina smiled disdainfully. Of course I told her how well Luciano treats me. She cried while listening. How strange. Paul seemed to be trying hard to suppress something. He pointed toward the door. Get out. Don't make me say it twice. Nina lifted her chin, her eyes full of mockery. Stop ordering me around. The owner of this house is Luciano. He hasn't said anything. So who do you think you are? Paul's expression became terrifyingly dark. I was so scared that I immediately covered Nina's mouth. Don't say anything. But Nina pulled my hand away, wrapped her arm around my shoulder, and said with a smile, Caro, your birthday is coming up in a few days, right? Sorry, but I might be sick that day. Luciano will only be able to accompany me. Are you two planning to have children? Then you should prepare yourself. When you give birth, he probably won't be there either. You won't become depressed by then, will you? Oh my God. Just thinking about it makes me feel so sorry for you. Paul's face darkened so much it looked like he could drip water. Nina, Luciano is downstairs. Why don't you go ask him directly if he wants to marry you? If he says yes, I'll have my lawyer send over the divorce agreement tonight and make your wish come true. Stop disgusting Caro here. Nina dramatically covered her mouth. Brother, you don't really think I'm interested in Luciano, do you? I only care about him because he's Caro's husband. Whoever Caro marries in the future, that's the person I'll care about. Paul was genuinely furious this time. Nina smiled. You're angry? Since you're so worried, why don't you become Caro's husband instead? Paul wasn't angry anymore. His expression changed several times. Then, suddenly, he grabbed my hand and pulled me out of the bedroom. My mood, which had just started to calm down, became nervous again. To be honest, I was afraid of Paul. He was only a few years older than me, but he had always been extremely mature. After his parents died in a car accident, he took over the family company and expanded it massively in just 2 years. Back then, several of his relatives who had abused their power and caused trouble in the company were sent to prison by him. The rest were all completely disciplined. I always thought he was too serious. Every time I visited his house, he was always expressionless and rarely spoke. I still remembered when I was in high school. I carried a cake I had baked myself to his house to find Luciano. At that time, only his brother Paul was home. I was nervous. I handed him the cake and asked him to pass it to Luciano, then turned around and wanted to leave. He looked at the burn marks on my hand from making the cake and suddenly said, Caro, you should spend less time with Luciano in the future. I froze for a moment and asked why. He took out burn ointment for me and said, I just think you two aren't a good match. Back then, I was young and easily hurt. After hearing that, my eyes immediately turned red. I said oh and wanted to leave. He stopped me, as if he wanted to explain something, but the moment his hand touched my skin, he quickly pulled it away. I took the chance to run away. After that, I avoided him whenever I could. I thought he probably disliked me. Otherwise, why would he stop me from being with his younger brother? His brother liked smart girls, and it was normal for him to dislike someone stupid like me, but he was still a very righteous person. He had always stood up for me. Overall, he was a good person. Chapter 08. He pulled me outside, but didn't say a word for a long time. He still looked as serious as he always did. I had no choice but to ask, Brother, what's wrong? You don't need to worry. I'll find a way to deal with Nina as soon as possible, he said. I was terrified. I immediately grabbed his arm. No. Don't do anything to her. She's actually a very good person. Paul was silent for 2 seconds. Then he suddenly placed his hands on my shoulders and pulled me into his arms. Caro, do you really think there are no bad people in this world? This was the first time I had ever been this close to him. I never realized that someone who was usually so serious and cold could also feel so warm. The contrast left me feeling completely confused. My nose was filled with the faint scent of his cologne. It was light and pleasant. Yet it made me feel a little dizzy. But I was still worried that he was going to do something to Nina. So while trying to push him away, I said, "Brother, no. Actually, Nina hasn't really done anything to me." Paul lowered his head and looked at me. His eyes were dark and unreadable. We were so close that I could clearly see the tiny lines on his lips. She said that whoever you're with, she'll set her sights on them. You're too innocent. How could you possibly win against someone like her? Caro, actually unfortunately. He only got halfway through his sentence before he was interrupted. Luciano was standing at the staircase, his face pale with anger. Wow, brother, no wonder you've always been telling me to divorce her. Even now, you're still after your own younger brother's wife. Do you have any shame? To be honest, I felt embarrassed for Paul, but Paul glanced at Nina, who had come out to watch the drama unfold. As if he had made some kind of decision, he looked at Luciano and said, "Yes, I am interested in Caro. I have been for many years. If you can't be a good husband to Caro, I can replace you." What's wrong with that? My brain completely stopped working. What did he mean? What was I supposed to do? I instinctively turned to look at Nina, but I found her secretly laughing while recording Luciano's breakdown on her phone. The whole scene was completely chaotic. I was nervous, and I was hungry. Nina scooped a bowl of tomato beef rice and stuffed it into my hands. Then she made me crouch under the table, where I could eat while watching the drama. Thankfully, Luciano and Paul eventually left. Nina also pretended to leave, but after walking around the house once, she came back. She cleaned up the kitchen, then soaked her feet and put on a face mask with me. I asked Nina, "Why do you think Paul would like me?" Nina said, "You're so great. What normal person wouldn't like you?" Luciano is just brain dead, so his brother must be the normal one. I felt a little embarrassed from the compliment, but after thinking about it, I still said, "But I don't think he and I are a good match." Nina laughed. "You two are extremely compatible. I've been shipping you two for a long time. I order you to kiss him right now and let me watch." I was speechless. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Luciano. "Carolina, what do you mean by this?" I was confused and replied with a question mark. Luciano replied, "Weren't you desperately in love with me? Today, when my brother hugged you, you just let him hug you?" I immediately held my phone up in front of Nina. Nina rolled her eyes dramatically, took my phone, and replied to him, "I don't like you anymore. Is that not allowed?" Luciano replied instantly, "Fine. You really think you can keep this attitude? Let's see how many days you can keep pretending. So you don't like me anymore, right? You said it yourself. Remember that. If you have the guts, don't come looking for me. Nina rolled her eyes again. Should I delete him? I thought about it and nodded. Nina's fingers moved incredibly fast. Before I could even react, she had already deleted him. Feels amazing. She pulled out her own phone. Let's order some late-night food to celebrate. Chapter 09. Early the next morning, Paul arrived at my house with breakfast and knocked on the door. I quickly told Nina to hide in the closet. Nina reluctantly crouched inside, hugging a pillow and continuing to catch up on her sleep. I sat on the chair eating breakfast while Paul watched from the side. He told me to have breakfast first, then get ready, and that he would take me out shopping to help me relax. He also said I didn't need to worry about my family's situation. He would help my parents handle everything. No, brother, I quickly said. I've already caused you too much trouble. It's not trouble. Paul pushed the bowl of porridge closer to me. Your matters are never a bother. It was the first time he had ever spoken to me in such a gentle tone. But thinking about it carefully, he had never really treated me badly before. He had just always avoided interacting with me. Now that I thought about it, was it because he knew I liked his younger brother? Could someone as cold as Paul actually like someone? What was he thinking? What did it feel like to be liked by him? Those questions kept circling around in my mind. Paul suddenly handed me a tissue, interrupting my thoughts. I came back to my senses, quickly finished breakfast, got ready, and went shopping with him. Before this, I had only gone shopping with Luciano once. He had acted extremely impatient the entire time. After that, I never went shopping with him again. Paul was completely different from him. He had made arrangements in advance. The store even had girls with similar body types to mine try on the clothes for me. All I had to do was sit nearby and see how they looked. Paul seriously discussed with me whether each outfit suited me and what occasions I could wear it for. When he lowered his voice while speaking, he was genuinely gentle, not cold, not serious. After buying the clothes, he arranged a delivery time and had everything sent to my house. Then he took me to look at watches, saying it was an early birthday gift for me. Just then, I received a location sharing request from Nina. I accepted it. Not long after we entered the store, Luciano arrived. Nina was with him. I froze for a moment and looked at Nina. I hoped she could explain what was going on. She flipped her hair and gave me a fake smile. Well, if it isn't Caro, what a coincidence. I awkwardly nodded. Luciano glared at me. What? Are you unhappy now? You can come out with my brother, but I can't ask someone out on a date. You deleted me, didn't you? Since you deleted me, stop interfering with my life. Paul's expression darkened. If you don't know how to talk, then shut up. Luciano let out a cold laugh. Brother, how many times do I have to tell you? She likes me. She only came out with you to make me jealous. Are you enjoying being used as a tool? I was speechless. I would never use someone as a tool. Did Luciano really see me as that kind of person? But before I could say anything, Paul asked, "Is that so? You're that confident?" He looked at me. Caro, do you still like him? I stayed silent. Luciano stared at me and pretended to be dismissive. Forget it. I'll save you some dignity. If you're embarrassed to say it, then don't. I pressed my lips together and gathered my courage. I don't like you anymore. Luciano's face turned dark. Say that again? Chapter 10. At that moment, Nina cleared her throat. Luciano, don't mind her. Didn't you say you came here to buy me a gift? Luciano stared at me for a long time before gritting his teeth. Yeah. Then he asked the salesperson to bring out a watch for Nina to try on. Nina put it on, checked the price, and pretended to be surprised. Luciano, this is our first time going on a date, and you're giving me this entry-level model? You don't think I'm Caro, do you? Back when you were in high school, you casually got her a bracelet, and she's still wearing it until now. Sorry, Luciano, I'm not that easy to please. Chapter 11. After hearing that, I subconsciously looked down at my wrist. I was indeed still wearing the bracelet Luciano had given me a long time ago. It wasn't anything special, but because it was a gift from him, I had kept wearing it until now. I had gotten so used to it that I had even forgotten to take it off. Looking at my wrist, Luciano's expression changed. He opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something. I was afraid he would misunderstand and think I still had feelings for him, so I quickly took off the bracelet. Paul, however, took it from me and carefully examined it. Paul said. If I remember correctly, wasn't this a free gift that came with the watch I bought? Luciano, I don't remember my family ever being so poor that you couldn't even afford to buy a bracelet. Luciano's face turned pale, then red. No, because that day was her birthday. I forgot to buy a gift. Even he couldn't finish his own explanation. He awkwardly fell silent. Nina raised her voice dramatically. Oh my God, Luciano, I really never expected you to be this kind of low-value guy. There must be some misunderstanding, right? You couldn't possibly be this cheap. After all, Caro always prepared gifts for you months in advance every year. Say something. Luciano, if there's a misunderstanding, explain it. Otherwise, everyone will think you're a huge jerk. Luciano was speechless. Chapter 12. Luciano wanted to defend himself, but he couldn't come up with anything to say. Paul didn't waste any more time. He asked the salesperson to bring out a watch for me to try on. The watch face was small, the craftsmanship exquisite, and it suited me perfectly. The price was also quite expensive. Wrap it up. After saying that to the salesperson, he looked at me. Caro, don't be sad over someone or something that isn't right for you. There are many better things waiting for you ahead. Paul, what do you mean by that? Luciano shouted angrily. Paul stood beside me and looked at him calmly, as if he was thinking about something. Then he said, what I mean is that your marriage with Caro should come to an end. If I had known you would treat her like this, I never would have let you marry her in the first place. Luciano laughed out of anger. Are you kidding me? Divorce? I don't care. Why don't you ask Carolina whether she agrees or not? I agree, I quickly said. I'll listen to you about the property division and everything else. We don't have children or pets, so there shouldn't be anything difficult to negotiate, right? Can we sign the agreement today? After hearing that, Luciano froze completely. Chapter 13. Overall, the date that day was quite successful. My parents had always been busy, so I had been lonely since I was little. I had always wanted someone to accompany me, so whenever someone didn't find me annoying, was willing to spend time with me, and listen to me talk, I felt incredibly happy. I thought Paul had a bad temper. I never expected him to be so patient with me, no matter what I said. He listened seriously, as if he truly cherished every chance he had to talk with me. After dinner, he said to me, do you remember the litter of kittens you found before? I was the one who asked Luciano to bring them back to my house. They've been living with me ever since. I went home with him to see them. Every cat was well fed and had a shiny coat. They were all very gentle. The moment they saw me, they came over and rubbed against my legs. I was so happy. I sat on the carpet, hugging the cats and happily cuddling with them. Paul sat nearby, watching me. He looked like he was in a very good mood. After watching me for a long time, he couldn't help reaching out and touching my head. I froze for a moment, but this slightly intimate gesture didn't make me uncomfortable. Was I actually a heartless woman? No way. I imagined what would happen if one of Luciano's friends touched my head. I would definitely feel disgusted. Paul was silent for a few seconds. Then, cautiously, he held my wrist and gently pulled me closer to him. Caro, I want to hug you. Is that okay? Before I could react, I was pulled into his arms. I didn't dare move. I was so nervous that my head felt dizzy. Just then, someone slammed on the front door. The sudden noise startled me. Paul frowned, gently patted my shoulder, and said, it's okay. Then he stood up and went to open the door. Luciano stood outside with a dark expression. He pushed his brother aside and saw me sitting on the carpet. Paul, you really have no shame. Caro and I haven't even gotten our divorce certificate yet, and you've already brought her into your house? Aren't you afraid people will laugh at you if this gets out? He walked in, looked at my face, and his tone became even harsher. Carolina, look at yourself in the mirror. Your face is completely red. What were you two doing just now? I was nervous and scared. I quietly said, your brother was hugging me. Luciano, damn it. He strode toward me, but Paul pushed him away and stood in front of me. The divorce agreement is over there. Paul pointed at the cabinet by the entrance. Sign it and leave. Why should I? Luciano completely exploded. You really have no dignity left. Caro is my wife. I'll say it again, she loves me. But I felt that when he said those words, he no longer had the same confidence he used to have. He looked at me. I thought he would continue getting angry, but unexpectedly, his tone softened. Caro, I know you're just throwing a tantrum because of Nina and me, but there's nothing between her and me. You're my wife, not her. Stop acting like this. I won't sign the agreement. Come home with me. He reached out to grab my hand. I stood up and avoided him. Because I had been sitting for too long, my leg had gone numb, and I almost fell. Paul caught me in time. The scene became extremely strange. Paul stood between us, his back facing Luciano, holding me in his arms. I leaned against Paul's shoulder and looked at Luciano. No, I said calmly. Go sign it. I want a divorce. Luciano looked like he couldn't process what he had heard. Why? Don't you like me anymore? Yeah, I nodded. I don't like you anymore. I didn't want him to keep asking, so I simply said everything at once. I don't like how you're always so harsh toward me. I don't like how impatient and careless you are with me. I don't like how you always call me stupid. Anyway, I don't like any of it anymore. Actually, I was never happy after marrying you. I regret it. Just sign the papers quickly, then both of us can be free. Paul held me and gently patted my back. Caro, that's not true. Luciano's eyes were slightly red. Was I really that bad to you? Just because I scolded you a few times, you forgot everything else? You have plenty of flaws too. Have I ever treated you harshly? I said. I've been good to you too. I don't owe you anything. Luciano came over and tried to pull me. Don't let my brother fool you. Do you really think he's a good person? Do you know he's been interested in you for a long time? He grabbed my arm tightly. The moment he touched me, I became nervous again. My stomach suddenly started hurting. The pain was so intense that I instinctively bent over. Within seconds, cold sweat covered my entire body. Paul reacted immediately. He picked me up, kicked aside the stunned Luciano standing in front of him, and rushed out of the house toward the hospital. The pain was unbearable all the way there. After arriving at the hospital, the doctor said it was acute appendicitis and that I needed surgery. Chapter 14. My mind was a complete mess. When I finally regained consciousness, I had already finished the surgery and was lying in the hospital bed. Luciano and Paul were both standing nearby. Seeing me wake up, they asked at the same time, "How do you feel?" But before I could answer, the door to the hospital room was pushed open. Luciano glanced at Nina, his expression turning unpleasant. "She's still sick. If you have something to say." Nina completely ignored him and pushed him aside. "Do you even know how to take care of someone? How did she get sick after spending just one day out with you?" Paul was confused. Nina clicked her tongue and said impatiently, "I'll take care of Caro these next few days. Don't come here and make things more chaotic." Paul immediately became alert. "What are you planning to do?" Nina answered matter-of-factly, "Of course I'm taking care of her. Do you think you should be the one doing it? Are you better at looking after her than I am?" Luciano walked over, glanced at Nina, and said unhappily, "Let me do it instead. You and Caro aren't the same as before anymore. You don't need to lower yourself for her." Nina rolled her eyes dramatically. "I just like lowering myself for her. What's wrong with that? Do you have a problem?" Luciano was stunned, seeing how weak I looked. Nina became anxious and stopped pretending, while wiping my face with a wet tissue. She said, "Just thinking about Caro marrying you makes me unable to sleep even after taking 10 bottles of melatonin. You brain-dead idiot actually looked down on our Caro? Seriously, who do you think you are?" Luciano took a while to recover from being insulted. He said in disbelief, "What did you say?" "I said you're brain-dead." Nina didn't even look up. "You thought Caro was bullying people just because I carried her bag? That's hilarious. Our Caro is a princess. Do princesses carry their own bags? So what if I helped Caro with homework and she didn't understand? Who are you to stand there and call her stupid? If it weren't for her, I would have torn your mouth apart long ago." "Oh, right. Do you remember back in high school when I rode my bicycle and broke your leg? I did that on purpose. If it weren't because of you, would Caro have been gossiped about?" While suffering from the pain, I thought to myself, that really did happen. It was right after Nina beat up the girl who had insulted me. At the time, Nina said it wasn't intentional. She claimed her bicycle was too old and the brakes didn't work properly. I immediately bought her a new one and told her to be careful. After that, she rode that bicycle to and from school every day. Looking extremely happy, Nina continued scolding him. "Luciano, you're seriously the worst kind of person. You've poisoned everyone's opinion with your stupidity." The expression on Paul's face was extremely complicated, but Luciano's expression was even more complicated. It looked like he was forcing himself to process everything Nina had just said. The more he thought about it, the more his entire worldview collapsed. "So you were never bullied by Caro at all?" Nina threw the used tissue into the trash can and sneered. "I already told you, our Caro is a princess. Of course a princess is beautiful, kind-hearted, and gentle. She's the most perfect person in the world. How could she possibly bully someone? Do you understand?" "Of course you don't. Because you're brain dead. Luciano looked like he was about to lose his mind. Then why didn't you explain when I asked you before? Nina said, because every time I talked to you, I wanted to throw up. And besides, why should I explain? If I explained everything, you would realize how good Caro is and actually fall for her. What if you two really got together? I'd die with my eyes open forever. Luciano, you bitch. Nina casually grabbed an apple and threw it at his head. You go to hell, you low-level man. Chapter 15. The situation became completely chaotic again. Fortunately, the doctor came in at the end and gave them both a harsh scolding, which finally made them calm down. But Luciano was only calm on the surface. He stared at Nina with hatred in his eyes. Nina narrowed her eyes at him. You're blaming everyone again. Use your pig brain for once. Did I ever mislead you about anything? You were the one who failed to see Caro's good qualities. You were the one who was biased against her. Who else can you blame? Luciano pushed her aside and walked to my bedside. Caro, there have been so many misunderstandings between us. Can you let me explain? Paul walked over and roughly tried to push him out. Brother, what right do you have? Luciano lost control again. Caro's the person I love. Me. I'm the one she loves. I admit I made mistakes before, but I'll change. I'll treat her better than you ever could. Someone like you becoming your own younger brother's third party. Don't you think that's embarrassing? I don't like Nina at all. I only paid more attention to her because I felt sorry for her. Marrying Caro was a decision I thought through carefully. What right do you have to interfere in our marriage? Paul finally reached his limit. He slapped Luciano hard across the face. The force was so strong that Luciano's face immediately swelled. In the past, I was too busy and failed to teach you properly. Luciano, if you're a man, stop clinging to Caro. Sign the agreement and stop embarrassing me everywhere. Luciano gritted his teeth. He shoved his brother away and walked back to me. His eyes were red as he said, Caro, I married you because I couldn't stand hearing other people criticize you. I do love you. If I didn't love you, why would I have done so many things for you? I admit I wasn't attentive enough. I was a terrible person, and I got spoiled because you always indulged me. I won't be like that anymore. Please, give me one more chance, okay? He held my hand tightly. His eyes were filled with sorrow and desperation. His hand felt so cold, it was even trembling, as if he was truly afraid. But seeing him like this didn't make me feel satisfied or victorious at all. Maybe because my feelings for him had already been worn away, so there was no intense emotion left. Of course, maybe it was also because I was hungry and had no energy left for some dramatic love-hate struggle. I pulled my hand away. Sign the agreement. Luciano's back immediately slumped. Maybe he didn't want to lose face in front of his brother and Nina. He had been forcing himself to hold back his emotions. But when he saw me pull my hand away, he finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He cried. No. He sobbed. I won't divorce you. Nina couldn't stand watching anymore. She angrily said, then go die. Why are you crying? You're so unlucky to look at. Then she took out the divorce agreement and pulled out a pair of disposable gloves. She put them on. Then she grabbed Luciano's hand. I had no idea where she got so much strength from. But she actually forced him to sign the papers. Luciano was furious. He tried to tear up the agreement. I said weakly, Luciano, please, I'm begging you, okay? Luciano gritted his teeth. No. Anything else, I can agree to, but not this. Chapter 16. During my recovery, Luciano did a lot of things. He learned how to cook for me, bought me a new house, and decorated it completely according to my taste. He worked harder than before, as if he wanted to prove that he wasn't inferior to his brother. On my birthday, he bought me more than 20 gifts. Every single one was expensive and carefully chosen. I knew he was trying to make up for everything. But, well, there was no but. What was lost could never be recovered. Chasing something that had already passed was meaningless. Once something was missed, it was missed. There was nothing wrong with that. I just had to accept it and move on. But he refused to accept it. He refused to believe that I truly didn't love him anymore. When someone I no longer loved did things for me, all of it became nothing more than self-indulgent harassment. So, taking advantage of a time when I was drunk. I called him and told him everything I had kept inside. Back then, you already hurt me so much. Do you really want to continue now? Are you doing all these things because you want me to be happy? Or because you want yourself to be happy? After that phone call, he remained silent for a long time. Then, one day later, he suddenly called me and said he agreed to divorce. He had lost a lot of weight, but he had deliberately dressed himself up. He still looked decent. He didn't say much throughout the entire process. After we got our divorce certificates, he suddenly stopped me. Caro, I know you and my brother aren't officially together yet. I still have a chance to pursue you, right? Divorce isn't the end. It can also be a new beginning. Even if you end up with him, I won't give up on you. If he can be the third party, then so can I. I was afraid someone else would hear his shocking declaration, so I grabbed my divorce certificate and drove away. Chapter 17. It took a long time before Paul and I officially started dating. My personality has always been like this. If I had to compare myself to an animal, I would probably be more like a snail. Everything about me is slow. It takes me a long time to stop loving someone, and it also takes me a long time to fall in love with someone. Paul never pressured me. He said that since he had already waited so many years, waiting a few more wouldn't matter. After spending more time together, I realized that he was truly a man with a good temper, endless patience, and a strong sense of responsibility. After my family's problems were resolved and my relationship was settled, I finally had the energy to do something for myself. So I opened a cafe. Nina and Paul both helped me a lot. I also poured a lot of effort into it, so it quickly became profitable and even turned into a famous internet cafe in our city. Luciano often came to my cafe. He would sit there for an entire afternoon. Sometimes he would talk to me about the past. He said that misunderstanding me was his fault, but he truly never had feelings for Nina. He had always treated me coldly because he himself had been conflicted. He thought he had fallen for a bad woman. The reason he cared about Nina was because he wanted to make up for the guilt he felt toward me. Otherwise, what if Nina became successful in the future and came back to take revenge on me? I was speechless. I told Nina about it. Nina was so angry that she called him overseas and cursed him for an entire hour. Luciano didn't talk back at all. After Nina finished scolding him, he finally said, I've already been scolded into the ground by you. Can you at least say a few good words for me in front of Caro? Nina replied, Say what? The first thing I'll do after becoming successful is buy a stretch Bentley and take Caro for a ride. While I'm at it, I'll run you over too. Chapter 18. The day Paul and I went public with our relationship, I felt extremely conflicted. After all, he was my ex-husband's older brother. I felt that if we announced it, people would definitely gossip about us. Paul noticed my hesitation. He didn't pressure me. He just said that as long as I was happy, that was all that mattered. I secretly asked Nina for her opinion, because I thought she was much smarter than me, and she had always treated me well. Listening to her was never wrong. Nina said, If you want to post it, then post it. Whoever talks badly about you, write their names down in your little notebook. When I come back to the country, I'll deal with them one by one. I giggled. I felt so happy. So, on impulse, I posted the announcement. This time, Luciano still didn't like my post. 2 years after Paul and I got together, Nina returned to the country to start her own business. She was truly an amazing person. Whatever she did, she was decisive, accurate, and ruthless. She quickly became an entrepreneur who frequently appeared in the media. She was also very clear-headed when it came to relationships. She dated several men, and all of them were handsome guys with good character. But she never got married. She said she was too rich to casually sign a marriage certificate. No man was going to take advantage of her money. But when it came to spending money on me, she was always incredibly generous. The passenger seat of every car she owned was reserved only for me. On the day Paul and I got married, Luciano came too. He stayed quietly below the stage, watching me the entire time. After the wedding ended, he sent me a message. He said he hadn't given up on me. He just didn't want to ruin one of the most important moments of my life. Nina didn't even bother rolling her eyes anymore. She told me not to pay attention to him. After our honeymoon ended, It happened to be Nina's birthday. Paul and I decided to celebrate with her. The three of us went to Taitsong. The scenery there was beautiful, and I was in a wonderful mood. While eating cake, I suddenly thought of something. The first birthday cake I ever bought for Nina had mango filling. She had eaten it back then too. So how did she become allergic to mango later? Nina took a sip of wine and said, "Because that was actually my first time eating mango. I didn't know I was allergic to it. Luckily, I only ate a little bit that time, so the reaction wasn't serious." I widened my eyes. "Then why didn't you tell me back then?" Nina said, "Because I didn't want to ruin that moment. It was so happy. Princess Caro bought me a cake and celebrated my birthday with me." My eyes became a little teary. Nina smiled and gently wiped my tears away. Then she pushed me toward Paul and told him to hurry up and comfort me. And just like that, I didn't feel like crying anymore. I ate delicious cake, drank a lot of wine, leaned against Paul's arms, and played rock paper scissors with Nina. I thought, Nina was right. There really are moments in life that are so happy that even an allergy can't ruin them. Like this moment. And like so many moments in the future.